Hey y'all, welcome in or welcome back to the channel. I know I've already wished you a happy new year, but this is my first time back since the new year, so it feels real to me in my current timeline. So happy new year, happy 2025. Today, we are going to be talking about no buys, no buy January, no buy years, all of that. I am barefaced today. Nothing like, it's not serious. I just sometimes get requests to come on here barefaced, chat with y'all. You know, we do get ready with me. This is not a get ready with me. I had some things to say. And so I felt like it was appropriate to say it, or to take this opportunity to say it. So no buy chat incoming. Now I had said, I think in the no buy video that just went up, that I was going to be doing no buy January this year. I had every intention to do that. In the past few years, I've done no buy January, and it's just been a really great way to start the new year. I even thought about expanding it into Q1 just to do like a full quarter no buy, because I think it's like a great way to build momentum. And I really, specifically for January, I like the intentionality of a no buy and starting your year with an intentional project, like an intentional like financial or savings project. It just, to me, starts the year on the right foot, on a good foot, on an intentional foot. And I also typically couple my no buys or no buy Januaries with additional projects and other things that I like to turn my attention to while I'm in this intentional consumption headspace. And so I am not doing one. I've decided I'm not going to do it. And I probably won't even like consider doing a no buy at all. Like, we will not reevaluate till probably July, maybe June. We'll see. And I want to talk about that today. I want to share my thoughts as to why I'm not going to be doing no buy January, why we're not going to be doing a no buy. And I wanted to talk about it because there are so many people who are embarking on those journeys right now. It can kind of feel like everyone's doing one, or that maybe you should do one, or like if you want to change your relationship to shopping, that you should do one. I think that there's a lot of pressure right now to get on the no buy train or to do one, even if it's just for a month. And so you might share some of my perspectives, or you might find comfort or relatability in what I'm saying, even if our specific situations are not the same. If you are doing a no buy, I think this video could potentially give you something to consider. Like, if I'm doing a no buy year, or let's say no buy quarter, or 6 months, however long your no buy is for, or a low buy. What are the conditions, or what are the circumstances in which doing a no buy is no longer beneficial? This is something I didn't think about when I was doing my own no buy, that there are life circumstances or personal circumstances where you are no longer in the right frame of mind or the right life circumstance to continue. And stopping or pausing a no buy is totally okay. And it's also okay that like no buys are not for everybody in every place of life. And so I think considering the conditions in which it may be appropriate to stop or pause is beneficial, because you might just have the desire to push through because you're supposed to. Like, you're supposed to go on a no buy, and if you've gone on one, you're supposed to finish it. Finishing something that's detrimental to your health or your circumstances or your stress, that's not a good thing. Above all, I hope that this video encourages you to do the thing that is best or right for you, whatever that choice is. So the main reason why I'm not doing a no buy this year, this quarter, this half year, is really that I'm not in the place for one. It's kind of just that simple. I'm not in the right mental space. When I do a no buy, I want to do it right, and I want it to have an element of a challenge to it. And what or how specifically that challenge looks does change year from year, or year to year. And I did want to have like a savings component to it. And I was in the middle of brainstorming like a savings project, savings goal that I was going to do at least for 30 days. I wasn't sure if I was going to do that for like the full quarter, but at least for the first 30 days or 31 days of January to have some kind of savings challenge. And as I mentioned at the top of the video, I do like to couple No by January with projects. That to me is more like stuff related, not necessarily savings related or spending related. Like, I think it's the perfect time. Like, if you are already in an intentional headspace, I'm looking at my bookshelf because that's one of my projects. If you're already in this intentional headspace and you're already thinking about stuff and you're already thinking about consumption and what you have, doing projects that are related to that is kind of what I love. And I still might do some of these, but I don't think I'm going to do the whole shebang like I had anticipated. And so I'm not worried that I'm going to splurge or like my spending is going to go off the rails. That's not what I'm worried about, or that like restricting myself at this time is going to bring on a binge. If you do believe that this is true for yourself, that is a great reason to not embark on a no buy. Let's be clear. I would just more so describe my situation as just like not myself, I just lost a family member, and the last few weeks, like the last 2 weeks, have been like a high period of stress and emotions. And I'm just like not in the same mental space as I was at the beginning of December when I was considering these projects. And that's okay. Our no-buys need to adapt to our lives. Our budgets need to adapt to our lives. And I would say that I'm not in the same place. I would say like I'm mentally, emotionally, and even spiritually. And by spirit, I mean like my overall like spirit, vitality, me-ness, personhood, that kind of that kind of thing. Again, if you are experiencing a mental health crisis, that is also a good reason, or maybe not even a crisis, if you're experiencing acute stress or just you're not right mentally, also great reasons to not go on a no-buy. For me personally, it's just more so like things just not being as they were, not feeling totally myself, not feeling totally right. The like my mental clarity or my energy, those kinds of things. And I see right now as more of a time of protecting my peace, like being more gentle, being kind to myself. And now just like doesn't feel like the moment to challenge myself. It just feels more the time to be kind to yourself. And sometimes the kind choice is to go on the no buy, or the thing that would be the act of self-care is to go on the no buy. Other times the act of self-care is to not. And I know that like if I were to do one now, it would just be a name and there wouldn't be the intentionality or the excitement behind it that there normally would. I wouldn't be doing a savings challenge, or if I did, it just would not be with the same level of intentionality as I would normally. And as I was mentioning that I hadn't fully developed exactly what the challenge would be, although it was in progress. And one of the ways that I would determine the level of challenge or what the challenge would be through looking at the budget and reconciling the spending, and also looking at, okay, how did December go? Or how did 2024 go? What kind of goals would I like for myself for 2025? How could I support that with this project? And that was the intention at the end of December, once it was actually over, to sit and have this budgeting session and also create, or this reflection session, and then have the no buy factored into the budget when it came time to create January's budget. Full transparency, I have not reconciled December's budget yet, and we are on like the 7th or the 8th right now. And I love, like, one of the things that have been the most fun is to create the next month's budget. I love it. I love it. It's so much fun. So it's not necessarily like this is a task that I put off and don't like doing. It's one that I actually enjoy. Things have just been like really busy, and when there has been time, I have wanted to just kind of chill out and relax. And so I think I'm going to reconcile the budget and create January's budget this weekend, which is fine. And it's not like I've gone out and I've used this, I don't know, this time between budgets as an opportunity to like shop and spend money that I wouldn't ordinarily. No, we're kind of maintaining basically what I have been doing, like what would be normal. It's not late enough in January where, let's say, I spent too much money in the first week. Like, it's not late enough where I couldn't reconcile it later in the month. That might be difficult if you overspent by a lot, but that's not the case. It's just more of that intentionality factor, again, is what I was saying, is that one of the reasons why I like creating budgets is it gives me such confidence and peace in knowing that like you can afford to make certain purchases or that you're spending within your means, really. And so I know once I do create January's budget, it'll be even more like that. It's just going to take a little bit extra time, given that I need to still reconcile December and also think about what I would like for 2025. You know, this is a related note because we're going to talk a little bit about 2025 goals briefly now. I was in the middle of setting up my 2025 bullet journal, and that for me is enmeshed with setting up my 2025 goals. And I was in the planning stages, like I hadn't actually drawn anything on the paper, but I was planning all the pages I wanted to have, which were in support of the goals that I wanted to have for 2025. Like I have a wardrobe challenge that's going to be happening, not right this second, but later on, probably the next week or two, because I know the basics of the challenge and it's going to be year long. It's fine for it to not be formalized for another few weeks. I'm not going to buy anything anyways. So my bullet journal is how I plan and think about my goals, and I never really got to finish that. And so I just, like, my brain feels kind of messy just because I never finished doing the goal setting, in which No Buy January is a part of. And also the financial goals and the savings goals and like the stuff and accumulation and conscious consumption goals that are part of my overall goal setting that also just kind of haven't been formalized. And all these things are interwoven. And so I have kind of two main messages for this video. The first is that if you are feeling behind, like if you're feeling behind in life, behind in 2025, like that turnover of the year didn't go as you expected. Maybe you also planned to goal set, or you planned to take some time to fill out your journal or fill out some worksheets or something, and you just haven't done it, or things have been busy, or you haven't been feeling great, and life has just been busy and you haven't done it. Ultimately, it's okay. January 1st is an arbitrary date. It's okay if it means something to you, but it also doesn't mean anything, in the sense that like your starting date could be February 4th or July 23rd, December 9th. You can start moving the needle at any time. It doesn't have to be January 1st. And many of us like January 1st because it has that fresh start feeling and it can feel like the ultimate fresh start. But you can start moving the needle. You can create goals and start working towards them at any time. Like your goal year could be January 20th, 2025 to January 20th, 2026. It's not a big deal if that's your year. Like, you are still spending a year working towards something. And at the end of the end of your goal year, whenever you set that, are you really going to be upset that you started 20 days late? You could have not started at all. And sometimes like you might come across this video when it's September, November, March, whenever. That's also not a bad time. Sometimes our goals need to be reevaluated. Sometimes we're not in the right headspace to make the goals when it feels like we should. The important part is taking the time to make them if you feel like you have goals that are important to you that you'd like to achieve or start making progress on. My goal year is going to start whenever it's ready. Really. Don't let this feeling of being late or feeling behind stop you from setting goals at all. There also is no finish line. January 1st is not the finish line. Well, if it is, it's an arbitrary one, so you can create your own arbitrary one, as we've already discussed. But that's also like not the finish line for life. The second thing, and I think the overall more like overarching message of this video, is that no-buys are not for everybody at every stage of life, and that is perfectly fine. You and I are not in the same situation. We do not have the same resources or life circumstances, and neither do the people in the TikToks that we watched earlier this week. Or is it last week now? Time is a blur. We're experiencing different realities, and we have different circumstances, but also different needs, different goals, and we're coming at our no-buys or the desire for one, or the desire maybe more like to change our shopping habits. We are coming to that with different experiences, different resources, and different habits and skills already at our disposal. Don't let people who lead different lives than you entice you to do something. They don't experience the same repercussions as you for doing a no-buy. And repercussions, maybe that's a negative word, but consequences, maybe results. We're all experiencing different realities. And if every one of us on this channel, everyone watching this video, if we all went on the no-buy and we did have the exact same resources, and even if we had the same rules, a lot of our results would look different because we're different people. I've said this in this video, and I've said this throughout the history of my channel, that it's okay if something isn't for you right now. It doesn't mean that you could never participate in that thing. No buy aside, it could be any kind of goal. Maybe you want to start running or crocheting, or maybe you've heard of other challenges like 75 hard or something. Or maybe you want to participate in Veganuary. Whatever it is, it's okay if this moment is not right now, because it doesn't mean that you could never. If you are moving, if you've changed jobs, if you're getting a divorce, or if a relationship has ended, if you're experiencing overall great change, it could even be positive change, like having a child or moving. Those things are usually really positive. Maybe you're getting married. If you anticipate a busy season or a busy year, your plate could be very full. And the kindest, most compassionate thing you could do for yourself is to not add more to that plate. You are taking care of yourself by not adding more, is what I think the reality is. And sometimes what we need is a season of gentleness, or a season of quiet peace, a season of acclimatizing to your changes or to your new reality. And even if your changes aren't right now, let's say you're moving, just giving an example, in May, maybe you're going to be doing a lot of packing, or just a lot of money is going to be spent in that way, or a lot of time and energy. Or maybe you haven't found a home yet and there's just a lot of stress and overwhelm. It's okay if your busyness isn't happening right now, but it is happening like within a shorter period of time, within the year or within the quarter, whatever it is. It's okay to focus on those things and put your time and attention and energy on that, and allow yourself that time to deal with it or to acclimatize, as I've mentioned. And maybe what you realize is, hey, I could have undertaken a no-buy. You've learned something from that. And I think that how you approach these decisions will vary person to person, and you don't have to take my suggestions or what I think works for me, but I would rather be a little bit more conservative than push myself too hard. Push myself so hard I feel like I've failed, and that lesson isn't always absorbed. I could learn the same lesson by maybe being a little bit more conservative and saying, you know what, I am stronger than I realized. I'm more resilient than I realized. I had more in me than I realized. And I think that is a more positive way to absorb the message, just for me personally. So also navigating these changes, and if something is applicable or not, is something to consider. So that is the video. And I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that if you've been on the fence, I hope that this video gave you something to consider. And sometimes we are on the fence, and we just hearing somebody else who is maybe thinking or saying the things out loud that we're thinking is just a bit of a relief. Like, I'm glad somebody else feels this way. I'm glad that I'm not alone, and it can give us confidence to make the decisions that are right for us. Conversely, it's also okay if this video made you feel like a no-buy is the right time for you. What I would love for you is to make an informed choice on what you'd like to do, and to do the thing that's best for you. So that's everything for me today. Thank you so much for being here. I would love to know from you in the comments, are you going to be taking on a no-buy challenge or a low-buy challenge? If so, for how long? And if you're not, are you doing something instead? I know there's lots of wonderful projects out there that can teach us wonderful things about our consumption, our spending, or saving. And if you're doing something like that, I would love to hear from you. So thank you so much for watching Hang Out with me today. I would love it if you would subscribe so you can catch more content like this. I have some great videos coming later in the month. The January content calendar is finally together, and I think it's going to be a good one. So I would love to have you here. I think I said thank you 3 times already. Thank you again, 4th, and hope to see you again around here soon. Bye.